Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. You've clicked on this video because you are curious about or interested in engaging with the idea of independent research or independent scholarship, and I am here to hopefully enlighten you as to how you can do that. And I want to start off the bat by saying that this video is for anyone, regardless of your academic background. It does not matter if you have 0 university degrees behind you, or you are a master's student, or perhaps 20 years out of university and feeling a bit rusty. This video is aimed for everyone and anyone who's interested in engaging in research, what that is about, and how they can do it with the limitations of the world, because let's face it, there are limitations, but hopefully I will teach you how to get around those limitations. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Cinzia and I am a part-time PhD student in classics, and I specialise in contemporary English literature. So all of my advice is based around the fact that I am a humanities student and only have experience in that. Hopefully, maybe I can give some insight to people outside of the field. I'm also based in the UK, however, I will give advice based that you can hopefully adapt to your country and culture accordingly, or may give you insight into things that you've never considered before may be an option, and hopefully that will prompt you to investigate in your area. So the idea about being an independent researcher or independent scholar is that there is a particular area, a field of interest that you are particularly passionate about and you want to write about, because the idea of research and scholarship is actually to contribute to the field. This is very different from, say, starting off a personal curriculum, which is very much a popular trend online. I've even done a video about how to start your own personal curriculum, but it's important to emphasize that the difference here is that we're contributing to a field of some kind. And naturally you would think, well, I have to be part of an institution to do that, but you do not have to be. There are caveats, and I will acknowledge that there are benefits to having a university degree when going into independent scholarship versus not. But even then, I would say people who've only done an undergraduate are a greater disadvantage than people who've done a master's, and likewise master students of PhD students, because you do learn different skills at each level, but that does not mean that you are incapable of learning those skills. The only benefit to having a degree in these things is that you actually get given the time and tailored advice by a professional to guide you through strengthening those skills, which benefit independent scholarship going forward. But that does not mean that you are completely incapable of learning these skills at your own time. You just won't get the one-on-one advice from someone who has 30 years experience in the field. So I'm going to break this down into different topics. The timestamps are below, and I'm actually going to start with the idea of reading, because I think that's the most important thing when it comes to independent scholarship and things that people don't consider, people sort of take for granted. Because say you want to learn about Egyptology, so you go to your local bookshop and you find a nice penguin book about Egyptology and you use that as your research primer. Now, these books, non-fiction books in particular, are very good primers for learning about a subject and seeing if you are interested in it. But it is important to note that commercial non-fiction is very different from academic literature. They're written differently. They also have different standards of criteria that they have gone through. And this can be a little bit scary for people because, number one, academic literature is hard to get hold of for free. Not impossible, but hard to get hold of for free. It is also far more expensive when you're in a bookshop or, say, you're ordering it online. So I'm going to give you a prime example. I have books here from someone who's very famous in our academic field, in the classics world, and that is Emily Hauser. Now, Mythica came out, I think, around 2023, maybe 3 years ago now, and this is an example of commercial non-fiction. She is an academic in classics. She teaches at the University of Exeter, but this is not an academic text. So the difference is mainly while she will apply her same academic rigor that she normally does, you can be a bit more relaxed when it comes to commercial non-fiction. You can make generalizations, you can import emotions, or even your own not biases per se, but yeah, technically a bit of a bias, because you want your audience to engage with the subject in a particular way. And that leniency is allowed in commercial non-fiction because that's what sells books. And you're not being disingenuous, but you're using inflated language or emotive language to put forward your information. And whilst Mythica is an example of very good non-fiction text in that she employs archaeology and she cites everything because she's an academic, she doesn't lower her standards, it is very different from her academic writing. An example of that is here. So it's the same author, it's Emily Hauser, but this is How Women Become Poets, A Gendered History of Greek Literature. And these two things cover very similar topics, but this is academic writing versus that. But I'm holding the book, so you're probably thinking, well, how will I know, Cinzia? If I'm in a bookshop, how will I know what is academic writing? And the primary thing is the publisher. So this particular publisher is Princeton University Press, whilst the other one I believe is Doubleday Books. So that is the difference between the two of them. University presses treat their academic publications with the exact same rigour as a peer-reviewed paper. It will go through many layers of academic rigour and critique, with lots of academics looking at it, picking it apart, and giving it an analysis that a non-fiction book will just have potentially a non-academic editor in charge of it, and they are not a specialist in the subject, so therefore they're just doing the general edits. They may look something up now and then if they are confused by something, but the reviewers of an academic text will be academics in the field. They know what they are looking for, and therefore they are sharper at picking things up. So you will have stronger writing in an academic text versus commercial fiction. Now, why is this important? Because if you want to become an academic scholar, you have to engage with academic literature. Unless you are analysing said commercial literature, commercial academic non-fiction won't be any of your references or resources. You will certainly not cite them as your argument because they will not be considered valid. So what can you do if you're like, well, Cinzia, academic texts are really hard to find, they're very expensive, or I can't get access to academic articles online? So let me tell you my little workarounds if you are not part of a university and you want to get access to academic literature. But before we go any further, I'd like to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, which is Squarespace. Because whether you are starting out or managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it so easy for you to create a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything from products to content to time, all in one place and all on your terms. I've gone through so many iterations online, from blogging to now running a business, and Squarespace has seen all sides of my online evolution. I've talked extensively about how I want to create an intellectual hub in the future, hopefully a space for independent scholars such as yourselves to gather and learn things from and build an intellectual community, as well as host my own courses and foundations to literature. And I can do all of that on my Squarespace website because it allows for me to create member-only content, so I can sell anything from blogs to courses to videos to products, and purchases on my website can be anything from a one-time fee to subscription access. And with Squarespace's built-in analytics tools, I can make smarter business decisions because I can focus where my traffic is coming from, what the busiest and most popular parts of my website are, and I can evaluate all of that data and adjust accordingly. What's more, I can track all of my income sources, from whether that's a subscription access or product sales, from my Squarespace website, so I don't have to keep going off everywhere and tracking data from all different websites. It's all right there. So if you're interested in starting your own business or growing it in a different way, go to squarespace.com for a free 14-day trial, and then when you're ready to launch it, go to squarespace.com/Lady of the Library to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. If you want to buy academic textbooks, look out for their sales. So check out the websites like Oxford University Press, Cambridge University Press, Yale, Princeton, Harvard, Edinburgh, Manchester. Many universities have their own university presses. If you sign up for their newsletters, you will find out when their sales are. And their sales are really, really good. You can sometimes get up to 50% off, but usually a minimum of 30% off. And it's not just, say, a Black Friday thing. There are summer sales, there are spring sales. They tend to be quite liberal with their sales. Wait for them. Sign up to their newsletters, find out, follow them on social media, and then purchase your books when those sales arise. Also consider that ebooks are usually much cheaper than the physical books. Even then, they're not still cheap. So there was a particular book that I bought recently in the sale, and the physical book cost around, I think, £90, but the ebook cost me £35. So I went for the ebook, but it's certainly not a cheap alternative. The next advice I will give is libraries. Like I haven't emphasized this enough over all of my videos where I've talked about this, please use your libraries. And we're not talking about your small hometown library. We're talking about libraries that have access to academic literature. Now, from a UK perspective, I can only give this. We have national libraries here. In Scotland, we have the Scottish National Library, and we also have the famed British Library. Membership for the Scottish Library is completely free. You just have to be a local of Scotland. You have to be someone who lives in Scotland. Not only do they have every text published at their access, so you can get and read the book in the library. You can't take books out of a national library, you have to read them in situ. They also have digital resources like access to Cambridge Core or JSTOR, all of these academic article websites, and you get access to them for absolutely free by being a member of the National Library. It is absolutely insane. This is why I say please support your libraries. The memberships are free. Give them money, fund them, give them an annual little donation as a thank you, because these libraries are doing the academic lord's work. If you do not have access to, or you do not live by a national library, then look at your nearest university library. Many university libraries will allow members of the public to join them. Now, not for free, because they have to prioritise their students over this. They usually have a membership. If you are an alumni of the university, you may be allowed to join for free, but even then, sometimes they don't. They will not have the same resources available to you as a national library does. Maybe they do, largely do not, but at least you have access to said libraries, and they will be more than happy to help you whenever they can. If there is a resource that you are trying to hunt down, the librarians there are wanting to help you. Librarians are a godsend. They want to help you because they want to showcase that they are worth funding by the bodies that fund them. The more people engage with them and ask for their resources, and the more that they can prove that they help people, the more funding they will get. So utilize your librarians, their resources, pick their little brains and access them. Now, if you are somewhere where you are absolutely nowhere near a library, then the nearest thing I would recommend that you do is obviously purchase potentially what you can in terms of academic papers. It depends again on your dedication to being an independent scholar and what you can afford versus what you think is worth it. Again, a lot of these online websites are available for a membership. So whilst you can get them access for free via a national library such as JSTOR, you can also buy a membership directly to JSTOR. You have to weigh up whether or not that is financially viable for you. Resources like JSTOR to me are worth purchasing. Whilst they are incredibly expensive, I say they are far more an annual subscription than anything like ChatGPT or Netflix. I think JSTORs in this world and other things like that deserve subscriptions far more than those things. So I would say it is worth investing in, depending on how much you want to invest in the idea of independent research and scholarship. It's something you have to consider. The next advice I would give for any independent scholar is to create an account, like a social media account, and follow academics online. I'm talking academics that are in the institution, not people like me. We're talking about academics who work at an institution. Because the greatest guide you can have when navigating the field of independent research and independent scholarship is someone in the field. Most of these scholars online almost exclusively talk about academia and the things happening in their field. So this could be a call for paper, call out. This can be conferences. This could be chapters that are being published. It could also be open access articles to things that they have published themselves and they want other people to read it. Follow as many academics within the field as possible who are actually actively part of the academic world, because then you will learn about so many things available to you. Again, conferences, network opportunities, societies, associations that you can join, maybe for free, maybe for a low price, you have no idea. Also, if you can get hold of any sort of listserv, this is something that is an email network that you can join it. So in the classics department, for example, we have the classics listserv. This is hosted by, I believe, Liverpool University, and anyone can join it. And what's fantastic is basically classicists around the world have joined this email, and then they advertise whatever events are happening via said email list. So it's almost like the ultimate email list that you can possibly join everywhere. You will get a conference call in Australia, you will get call for papers for a book being published in a German university but in English language, and you will also have links to any and all conferences that are taking place, and a lot of them take place online, so you can join for free. You don't have to spend a fortune going to a conference in person, you just have to show up. By watching these conferences, you can see how people present papers, what they are all talking about, what they are interested in, and again, even if it's not your particular field, you will see the same names time and time again. Use your opportunity during these online conferences to engage with the academics online and get your name known. This is really important. It's basically free networking for introverts. So you can show your face on camera. I would recommend it. You want to be noticeable. by academics, and you're noticeable by asking them good questions at the end of every conference paper, engaging with them, thanking them, and showing up time and time again. This is really important for an independent researcher, particularly if you're not part of an institution. Being a recognisable face and engaging regularly is a great way, and it's a really important way of establishing yourself as an independent researcher. And it'll get you in a great place for one of the next steps, which is applying for conferences. But first, before you apply for conferences, let's talk about academic writing. Because before you go to any conference, you have to be familiar and confident in your own skills as an academic writer. And I cannot stress this enough, academic writing is not the easiest. It comes naturally to some people. I am not one of those people. It has taken me years, and even now I'm funny with my academic writing. It's probably my weakest skill set, unfortunately, but I'm getting there. And this is only thanks to one-on-one supervision for 4 years in a PhD program that I'm finally getting more confident with my academic writing. I thought I was a good writer at undergraduate. I used to get firsts. I'm fine. I thought I was a good writer at masters. I used to get firsts. Surely I'm fine. PhD level, different beast entirely. Your academic writing has to go up like tenfold when you get to that level. And I want to emphasize again, you don't have to go to university to learn this skill, but going to university will help you. If you're a natural, fantastic, go at it. However, for those of you who are not, here is my advice. There are lots of things that can help you with your academic writing. The first thing is there are lots of books, and thankfully these books are not extortionate in their price. They have gone through academic publishers, but they are aimed at lots of different levels, and they're usually aimed for students. So whilst they're on the pricier side, we're not looking at anything beyond £25 at maximum. They are technically commercial books, so they are priced at commercial levels. So again, really accessible. And what's more, a lot of these books have been around for a very long time, so you may be able to find them secondhand somewhere. Now, I've got many recommendations of academic writing books, and I will link them down below because I have a bookshop.org affiliate programs. I get a tiny commission from that sale. If you don't want me to have it, by all means, just copy and paste the book and go and look for it elsewhere. But if you are curious about all the academic texts that I would recommend, I will link all my storefronts down below so you can see. But just for clarification's sake, they are affiliate links. Another thing you can do if you're feeling really underconfident and you want someone to look over your writing, or you want more tailored advice, is to hire an academic writing tutor. Again, a lot of these people are actually other academics. They are students, maybe largely PhD students, looking to earn some extra income because funding is tight and they need some extra money. This is priceless because, again, the main skills that you get from going to university is having the privilege of that one-on-one tuition. And if you're getting it from a PhD student who is in situ, they are on the ball with how you should be writing and what they can give you feedback for. I think that sort of mentorship is priceless. So if you will look online and look for academic writing tutors, you will find many of them. But if you are completely, absolutely broke and you have no money to spare whatsoever and you want someone to help you with your academic writing, reach out to another academic. Particularly if you've been going to conferences and you've seen the same person and they've been very engaging with you. If you've gone in person to a conference and you've met them, fantastic. If you've only seen them online and you've engaged with their papers, you've engaged with their work, so they're familiar with you, they like you, they've seen your face a few times by now, you can reach out to them and see if they'd be willing to read over some of your writing and give you some feedback. Now, obviously, don't take advantage of this. Academics are incredibly busy people, particularly if they're working at a university, and particularly if you get them at a bad time of year, such as exam season, dissertation season, marking season. All of those seasons, they won't be able to help you. But maybe in the summer months, in the middle of the summer, they may be able to help you, and they may have the time and the ability to look over your paper and be a peer reviewer. Now, again, depending on the academic and how much time they have, you may not get as tough a feedback or as detailed a feedback as you'd like. You certainly won't get as detailed feedback as you would get from, say, a personal mentor who is an academic writing tutor. But I will say this publicly, don't take the mickey. Don't expect a lot of details from someone completely for free, particularly an academic. And also, keep aware that you're asking someone for free labour and a favour. Do so with the confidence of knowing that you have actually returned in some favour. Show this academic who you're reaching out to that you have engaged with their work, that you have attended their conferences, that you are invested in them as a person. You show some friendliness to them before you go out asking for favours of random academics, because it doesn't look good. And if you want to become part of the academic sphere as an independent scholar, you also have to earn their respect, because it's a tit for tat situation. They will welcome you in and take you seriously if you've also taken them seriously and not been exploitative in any way, not been entitled, not been demanding. I can only speak for myself from my own experience in terms of academia, but I find it an incredibly welcoming and helpful space. People want to help each other. They're really excited to help young academics. I say young academics, we're not talking about age here, we're talking about how long you've been in the sphere. They want to help you, they want to inspire you, but please don't take advantage of them. Please be respectful, and again, please understand that this is a tit for tat and you have to sort of make a good first impression before you can ask for favours off people for free. And you're probably thinking, this sounds like a lot of networking, Cinzia, rather than the actual study. It is. But I'm saying this as someone who made this mistake at the beginning of my PhD journey. Academia is a network. And you cannot improve as an academic without a network around you, without emailing people and asking for help, without having a mentor, without engaging with other people's writing, without engaging with other academics. It is a part of a network, but it makes you a stronger scholar. And also, it gives you more opportunities, because oftentimes than not, you just happen to be in the right place at the right time, and someone will say, oh, hey, why don't you send over that conference paper you gave and we'll consider publishing it in our journal next month. It often normally happens from who you know, being friendly, engaging with the community, engaging with the field, engaging with other academics. And because other academics are all publishing things for free and they need a body of other academics to work with, usually to publish a book or publish a journal, they are happy to network and find other academics that they think can fill those gaps. But you have to be an active participant and not expect things, and also respect their work and engage with their work as equally as you hope that they will engage with yours. Being an independent scholar is less about social media. It's not all these have a nice profile on LinkedIn or have a nice Instagram. It is about really engaging with the community. That all happens largely offline. Academic networks and people all gather online, you can get their names, but engaging with material, engaging with what's being published, engaging with what people are talking about is all happening in the academic spheres, in the conferences, in the networks, in the newsletters that you follow. And you will see that from following other academics online who are working in the field. But also remember that it's all about building up your interests and building up an argument that you think is valid. And the final thing I'm going to talk about is narrowing and identifying what you're actually interested in and what you want to contribute. Because when you're outside of academia, you have an idea that's very broad, and then you don't realise how many people have already written about that, and you have to work through a lot of academic literature to find a whole that you can write about too. So say in my sphere, a lot of people say, I want to write about feminist retellings. We're all sick of feminist retellings. There are so many academics who have written about feminist retellings that, to the point that in my PhD, I started off with my PhD subject being that, and now it has completely changed 4 years later because too much was published that it was actually pointless for me to write about that subject any further. And now my whole thesis has completely changed in the last year of my writing. That's how fast academic trends happen. So say you are someone who's interested in Gothic literature and you're interested in the body. So much has been published on the body in Gothic literature. You are going to have to read all of that stuff and then find out what you're actually interested in. Attend conferences on people talking about the Gothic and the body and see what they're writing about and who they're referencing and who they're reading, and you build up from that. So be aware that your interest is evolving very quickly, and you can't enter it with an idea without actually being up to date with what people are talking about, because people have covered it. And if you have never been to university and you haven't engaged in academic scholarship, you're going to be very far behind. And that sounds really harsh, me saying that out loud. I mean it more in a preparational point of view. It is a shock to the system when you enter and you actually see, oh, someone's already talked about that. Oh, someone's already talked about that. It can be a bit overwhelming, but you will find your niche the more you engage with it. So you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, this is so overwhelming. I don't know where to start. What can you do today that's easy? Today that's easy is to just start. And a nice way of doing that is to establish yourself as a baby person interested in a subject, and you're going to write about it. Start by writing to yourself, but hold yourself to high standards. And the best way to do this is via a blog or a newsletter, or both, ideally. Both. Create yourself a website, ideally Squarespace. We've got a sponsor there, 10% off your website. Create yourself a website and start a blog and a newsletter with what you're interested in. So identify your field and call yourself like a new baby independent scholar. and this is your beginning of your journey. And every week or every 2 weeks, because it can be a lot of work, I don't want to underemphasize how much work this is, maybe every 2 weeks, give yourself a little challenge to write a blog post about something you learned about the academic world of the subject you're interested in. So whether that's reading articles from the 1995 about the Gothic body, and this is your introduction to this, seminal text that everyone now talks about. Maybe it's the Mad Woman in the Attic. Maybe it's Simone de Beauvoir. Just something that you're engaging with for the first time ever, and write a little blog post about what you learned about it. And challenge yourself to write out your thoughts in a casual way, but in an academic mind. So ideally, work alongside some of the books that I recommend with academic writing, read those, and challenge yourself to write blogs in the same style as. And work out what your academic style of writing is, what you like, what you don't like, what you need to fix on, and use a blog just for your own records or a newsletter that no one follows. Doesn't matter, no one follows, it's fine. Start this off just to challenge yourself to write on a regular basis and work on your own academic at your own pace, and then keep on top of what people are talking about, conferences, and even use your website or your blog to advertise other conferences that you would be interested in attending, writing about it, helping publicize it. I say all this because when you go to a conference, and you may go in person or you may, be online, and sometimes online they do little breakout rooms so people talk to each other casually about a subject, and they turn to you and they go, "Oh, hi, Susan," or Joel, whatever your name is. "What university are you, and what do you study?" Now that can be a really intimidating question, because you can be like, I feel like an imposter. I don't go to any university. I don't study anything. What you then have is, I'm working towards becoming an independent scholar. So I've been working on my blog. It's called thegothicbody.com, I don't know. And I write on there all about the Gothic body. And they go, "Oh, that sounds really interesting. Send me a link to your website." You just need to have a fixture. This is your little fixture that you can refer to. So if you don't have an institution that you can refer to because you're not currently a student, or you've never had an institution you can refer to, or a degree you can refer to, like, I did my BA English Literature at Oxford University in 2001, like whatever you may have. Having a website, having a newsletter, that can be your fixture, your own little home that you can refer to, that establishes you as being dedicated to the field, so much so that you've created a whole website dedicated to it or a whole newsletter dedicated to it, is what you then turn to people. And then they may be like, "Oh, I'll follow your newsletter. That sounds fun. I love that kind of stuff." And you may get followers from other academics who like you and get to know your name. I know what you're thinking. The simplest thing, the more simple thing to do is to have a really pretty Instagram, like a dark academia, light academia Instagram that you can refer to people. No. I mean, yes, no. No in terms of what you refer to other academics. So you can use your Instagram to advertise your blog or your website or your newsletter, but for other academics at the conference, you refer to your website. And that is what you're known for, because that is more solid, because there are millions of people doing cutesy Instagram like aesthetics. I'm included. I'm one of those people as well. But that's not your legitimizer. Your legitimizer is your website dedicated, or your newsletter dedicated to the subject that you can now refer to. Start there. Challenge yourself to start blogging on a regular basis, ideally every fortnight. Even if it's just starting out at once a month, though, that's valid too. Starting off, being an independent scholar takes a lot of time, and that can become really hard if you're a carer, if you have children, if you're married, if you're disabled, if you have a full-time job, if you're working 3 jobs. That's really hard. There's no rush. Just do things at your own pace. And know that you have this little blog that you have, and that's your thing, your website or your newsletter, and just keep that going in the background, and then slowly build on all the other things I've discussed in this video. And hopefully all that combined will leave you in a really confident position to start establishing yourself as an independent scholar, and ideally one day speaking at conferences, getting published. And you don't have to have an institution behind you. You just need to have a body of work that reflects how long you've been dedicated to the subject that you're interested in, and an active engagement with academic publishing that's happening right now through academic writing. And again, a lot of these things are behind paywalls like JSTOR and other memberships. And if you're not particularly near an academic library of any kind, you can feel a bit isolated, but don't limit yourself. Ask yourself how much you really, really, really want this. And I would recommend investing in a JSTOR membership for an annual membership, because it will be so worth it. You can't put a price on that membership. It's expensive, but it's way more valuable than Netflix ever could be. Hopefully this video helped you in thinking about actually what it takes to become an independent scholar or researcher. Hopefully it's given you the confidence regardless of your, higher education background, if any at all. And yes, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer them. I've also got a Google Docs form down below, so if you want me to elaborate on any of this in a short or a video or in my podcast episodes, by all means, please let me know. I'm launching the podcast again soon. It's been gone for over a year, but I thought it'd be really helpful for more chatty versions of what I'm talking about here in detail, so I can give more guidance for everyone. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. My dog is barking in the background and I bet that's picking up. That's because a postman has just arrived and the joy. Thank you as always to my patrons for making this possible, and for my top tier patrons who I've written down in my notebook because I'm not doing scripts anymore. We have Eric Taylor, the lovely Eric Taylor, that darn cat, Gil the Gilded Dragon, Yvonne and Yvonne, Wee Lauren, Andy Brazil, Nicholas Reed, Joshua Heredia, Holly is autistic, same Holly, same, Lady of the Labyrinth, and Jenny Edivade. Thank you ever so much to my top tier patrons as always, and I hope you are happy and healthy, and remember, books save lives. So keep reading.